All right, cool. Looks like we got folks starting to trickle in. All right. Good afternoon to the folks that are trickling in. Hello, Shelly.
Hey everyone, welcome.
Audrey, hello. Janelle, how's it going? Yep, so we're going to let folks trickle in. I would say maybe, two minutes past 2. Hey, Charlie, how's it going? I'd say as a cool way to kind of get us started off while we wait for our for everybody to join is just in the chat where you see everybody posting hello. If everybody just wants to post, where they're located, it's always cool to see how many people across the country are joining the webinar. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and type in Richmond, VA. Ooh, Colorado. Awesome. I was in Denver on Sunday.
Ooh, good.
Indianapolis. Well, I was flying through Denver from Oregon. I stayed for a little while.
There you go.
Yeah. I didn't get to experience the whole Denver. Yeah. However, ironically, I was at the Denver Nuggets final win game, by chance. Yeah. Amanda's in San Bernardino. Okay, we got California, Wisconsin, Long Island, Hendersonville. That's outside of Nashville. Let's go. Shout out Emily.
Yeah, we love it.
JDS Bath, right in my backyard. Love to see it. Oh, cool. It's Houston, Texas. I'm seeing a lot of some familiar names. I love it. Seattle, Washington. All right, about another minute. I want to give, I think we had over 170 people register. Mm-hmm. I think we're about 65 right now or something like that. So if we could give just another minute for people to trickle in, and then I think this is being recorded, right, Emily?
Yes, it is.
All right, great. So we'll probably broadcast this later for folks that won't be able to make it but registered.
Yeah, definitely. After this, you'll definitely get an email. You'll get an email about where to find the link. So if you ever want to look back at it too, you can find it in our resources.
Perfect.
Ross, there's a familiar name. How you doing, man?
Right in your backyard.
Right in our backyard.
Yep. Love it. All right, cool. About 30 seconds and we can jump in. I love it. Ross is responding in the chat. That's great. All right, cool. It looks like we're about ready to go. Are you guys able to see the slides? We actually don't have many slides today, but the name of this topic, I'm not able to see it. Emily, are you able to show it?
Yes.
Great. Perfect. I think we got it on the screen. So calling this sort of the Blueprint for Excellence series, I'm excited about this webinar specifically because it's a little bit more casual. And I think kind of straight to the point around, how a company called Bone Dry out of Indianapolis is able to achieve a 74% set rate. which I know everybody's. I mean, we love to share information. This is part of my favorite sort of part of my job. We get to get on webinars with customers and talk about our experiences, our challenges, our successes. So I'm excited today to talk about how Matt's been able to do that. So might as well start off a little bit of introductions. My name is Chris Bage, co-founder and CEO of Hatch. But more importantly, joining me today is Matt Tyner, CMO of Bone Dry Roofing. Matt, how are you?
How's it going, Chris?
Good, man. Excited to have you today.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
I think so. So the agenda, guys, I'm going to break it up into three sort of pieces. First, I'm going to give Matt a little bit of time to talk about just his background, because I think it's important for people to know where Matt's come from. I want him to get a little bit of time to talk about Bone Dry as a company and sort of what they're all about. And then I want to dive into a LinkedIn post that Matt put on LinkedIn about how he collaborated with our company to attack the appointment set rate challenge that we all face day in and day out.
Yep.
So we might as well get it started, Matt. Yeah, let's dive in, man. Tell me about yourself.
Yeah, totally. So I love growing businesses. Probably my favorite part of marketing in collaboration with operations is doing just that. So I've historically I've been in the HVAC and plumbing space up until this recent career move to the CMO of Bone Dry. But I worked with a variety of companies like Contractor Commerce, helped grow that up when it was still in its e-commerce phase, grow up. Then moved on to a smaller, more regional HVAC contractor, helped them right the ship from a revenue perspective, and then started on its growth path. And came to Indianapolis, came back home, worked for an agency here called Valve & Meter Performance Marketing, actually someone that we use here at Bone Dry today. And then from there, made the move over to Max Service Group. So Max Service Group is here locally, Williams Comfort Air, Mr. Plumber. It's a regional contractor that is owned by Wrench Group, that was purchased out in June of 2021 by Wrench Group in the HVAC and plumbing space. And then I was just kind of looking for the next step career-wise and wanted to see if we can, let's prove this out and grow another company. So ended up meeting with Gene Judd here, the CEO, and a couple of other folks, and just felt like it was a really good fit to be able to come here and do something that is special and really help grow the company and take them to the next level and help figure out how to make these amazing team members that we have even more successful in what they do every day.
I love that. Now, have you always been in marketing, or did you do different things?
Started off a little bit in sales.
Okay.
So when I first started, was a territory manager for Carrier, selling HVAC equipment to heating and cooling contractors. But then I moved over to more of new product development and contract negotiations and vendor negotiations and all that with Contractor Commerce when they were still e-commerce. And then, but through there, really got excited about marketing and then made the move over to strictly just marketing from there on forward. Because I love its impact. There's a lot of need in the home services space for good marketing. And then there's just a lot of predatory practices, I would say, from a number of agencies. And it's like, well, let's breathe some truth into this and see how we can help not only, the companies I work for, but also, other companies within the industry.
I love it, man. And then like along the way, different size companies, were they generally larger? Like, what are the size companies you work with, or just all types?
Yeah, variety. I mean, Contractor Commerce, we started in single digit millions. Then we ended up, growing that to double digits. When I was on the smaller regional company, that was more of an $8 million shop when I was there. Then I made the move to the agency space, and that was complete startup, man. That was just straight hustling, and but a ton of fun, and learned a lot along the ways there as well. And met some amazing people. And then on the HVAC side of it, we grew from about 56 to 112 million in the probably four years that I was there. And then coming here to Bone Dry, it's another step up. We hope to be about $200 million this year across all of our brands here in the Midwest, Florida and Colorado. But just been varying sizes with different problems, but I've also been able to understand the different walls and fences that everyone has to go over once they get to certain revenue standpoints or revenue sizes. And it's exciting, man. All the people are great, right? We were talking earlier. it's the home services. There's a lot of salt of the earth people that you fall in love with, and you figure out how you can help make their lives that much better.
100%. I love that. So sales guy turned marketer, all types of businesses, startup to multi-$100 million businesses. Yeah, that kind of experience is, I think it's going to help in the conversation today. Well, that's really cool. So, and now you're at Bone Dry Roofing,
Yep.
right? Tell us a little bit about Bone Dry as a company, what you guys do, but then on top of that, like, what is your focus there?
Yeah, totally. So, as a company, like I said, about a $200 million contractor is our goal this year roundabout. From a team member size perspective, we've got 20 locations, a little north of 500 team members across the U.S., primarily here in the Midwest. So parts of 9 states, but Midwest, and we have Colorado and Florida. So we really try to do those, kind of markets that attach, right? We want those drive times between markets. So that's nice from an expansion perspective. But a company that we're kind of a year of getting more and more things aligned so that we can have some really fun growth going into next year, because it's been a hell of a journey, but one that's been a lot of work here out of the gate. But we've got an amazing team here. So I'm lucky enough to be oversee really the marketing and then also the call center efforts here. We've got amazing teams on both sides of that. It's been really fun. We've been able to build the marketing team here. We've gone from 4 members to 10, I believe now. So, and really bringing in kind of some subject matter experts to really be able to grow the brand and what Bone Dry means to us, but also to our customers as well and the communities that we serve. So, really being able to lead those 2 teams is critical as a marketing leader, I believe. I think a lot of times marketing likes to kind of keep itself separate from the call center and the appointment setting and all that, and sales and all that. I'm like, hell no, we got to jump into it. We've got to. Yeah. If marketing is only going to be as successful as the operations, right? So if we're not helping the operations become better and investing in them and giving them more tools to become better, then the marketing team is going to be limited in its impact that it's going to be able to have. So I hope that can give a nice little bridge into kind of our relationship with Hatch and how we're using your software to be able to help grow our experiences here at Bone Dry Roofing.
I love it. Can I ask one question about the team growth? That's so interesting to me. I know there's people on the call, so you've got a goal to grow multi-millions, right, this year.
Yep.
And you went from, what did you say? You went from 4 to 8?
4 to 10, I think.
4 to 10. What are you don't have to get into the total specifics, but like, what are the areas of focus for each one of those marketers? Is it content? Is it paid ads? Is it, like, where do they spend their time?
Yeah, totally. So I'll start off with our agency side of it. We still keep our PPC and SEO is with an agency, but we're very involved with them from that regard. My background is primarily in the SEO side of things, so I love that space, and I always want to be involved to some level within that, right? However, internally, we just recently brought on a new director of marketing to really help streamline all of these projects that we have internally, and being able to really hyper focus on the execution side of it to make sure that we're delivering the best experience possible, but also bringing a lot of clarity to our team as marketers as well, because I think that's an important part of that story. So from there, we have a team member that's really, really in charge of the creative side of it, and then also has a graphic designer that works for him. His background is as a creative director, so really figuring out what are we going to, how is this going to look and feel as we grow up, right? And what's that going to be like? And that's just a role that I believe is very important to be owned locally. I've done that last 2 places I've worked. We need someone that really just cares about what that brand is going to be, what things look like going out the door, because that's a representation of our brand and that experience and that promise that we're giving customers. Then we have an individual that focuses on our community engagement. This is another big part of it, right? Without the communities, and I've said this on some previous podcasts, without the communities, we're absolutely nothing, right? That's all we have is the communities that we serve, and we need to pour into them, right? That's our corporate responsibility, is that we pour into the communities that we serve. We help sponsor those baseball teams. We help sponsor youth sports, really bring a level of community around it. So it's more, I want us to be more than a roofing contractor. Everyone here wants us to be more than a roofing contractor. We're a company that happens to do roofs, right? And how do we really just celebrate the good people and the good nature of the company within the community? And so that's really his big focus, is how do we take what we have from a brand and a community involvement here, but then cascade that to then all of our locations and becoming just a little bit more. Just becoming a little bit more in the communities, right? Those incremental improvements. We have a social media manager. She really goes in and just dominates on our engagement, right? The social media for us is not about pushing roofing. I'm a strong believer of people really don't want to talk to us until they have a problem, right? And they really could care less about their roof. And I think that's something we have to be honest about, right? And I'd even say that on the HVAC side, people really don't care about their HVAC unless it's not working, right? And so making sure that we're really developing out that engagement and creating content that people want to interact with, because that's going to be a game changer when you look at your engagement rates and what eventually will transpire into revenue from social is the fact that you create that positive sentiment that tied into their mind, that then when there is a roofing problem, then it comes, your brand comes front of mind at that point. And really just being able to create some dynamic conversations there, I think, is incredibly important. We have a digital marketing manager. She really works closely with our agencies and building out the SEO plans and driving into the results and working and collaborating with them to make sure we're getting the best out of them possible. But she's absolutely 100% helpful, a phenomenal human being, does a great job with that. And then we have a coordinator on the team, really focusing on email. You know, how do we take this massive list of people that we've served over the last, since 1986? I'm not even going to do the math because I'll get it wrong. But how do we take this mass of people that we have created some type of relationship with, and get that just top of mind awareness with them on a monthly basis, and creating content that they want to absorb, right? Again, don't talk about the roof because no one cares. But how can we talk about things we're doing in the community? How can we partner alongside of them, bring them into the conversation? Can we look at dog adoption events? We've got one hell of an asset right here on our shirts that we all wear around every day, being a dog. How do we tie that into the community involvement efforts? So she's done a phenomenal job getting that cadence out, so people are just constantly reminded about who we are and what we do. And then going down from there, we have a videographer, photographer. He does a phenomenal job capturing the video that we need to be able to tell the story. We turned around a TV commercial in 2 weeks, and that's that's pretty good.
Quick.
And the quality was phenomenal, and that was all done internal. And that was just something that I was ridiculously proud of, because we've just got some good people again, pouring into the brand, and it's just extremely, extremely fun. And then we have an individual that I didn't talk to about a lot when we said about the graphic design part, but we have someone on the team that is really talented with motion graphics, and really bringing that in and really helping create another layer in which we can help tell the story in a different way. And like being able to do an animated video to tell the story of our dog and how it is going to evolve into our business as a true mascot, and really building that up. She's just been very integral about that. And that's been super huge. And to tie it all together, then we have someone on our team that is responsible for really bringing everything from a data side of it, bringing it to our locations, because we could be doing an amazing job, but if we don't tell our locations how we are doing and letting them know the things that we are doing, that visibility is absolutely critical, because then they've got a newfound confidence that they're going to go into the market of like, hey, look at what we're doing in the community. Hey team, look at all these little league teams we're sponsoring. Look at all these youth football teams, look at all the high school football teams, whatever that we're doing in the community, investment we're making in the community. Let's tell that story, right? And so being able to get that and the results that we're seeing from all all the other team members that are doing amazing things, telling that story to the local markets has been an absolute game changer. And then not necessarily a marketing role per se, but customer assurance is one that does house within marketing, which typically doesn't. Typically that houses within a call center team. But we do house that in marketing. So responding to positive, negative reviews, making sure that we're following up on negative reviews. Let's make it right? We have a brand promise. Let's uphold that. And the job is like, hey, you've got the green light to make this right by the customer. Work with the locations, figure out what we need to do to be able to make sure at the end of the day, we're turning that negative experience into a positive one. That is fair for both us and the client and the expectations that we're set. And let's serve them and serve them well.
Love
So
it.
I think I got everything.
I think that's everybody. I counted 10. All right. So the question in the chat was, is that about 10 marketers? It is. And the way I think about it too is like, even at a smaller size, maybe you have 4 or 5, but like, what do they focus on? I think you gave us a good picture of sort of how you at each stage can think about, where do my marketers focus to get the leads coming in the business? And
your financials will tell you. That's the beautiful part about this. And I would say, here I came into a company that was much bigger when I started at Max Service Group, we started at 56 million, right? So we weren't necessarily massive in the space. We were large, but we weren't necessarily a massive contractor. We grew it to 112, but really the financials start telling you. So you'll know, okay, hey, I'm spending this much on PPC. Maybe it's time to bring someone in-house to manage this. I'm spending this much on media buying, right? TV and radio companies will charge you, 10, 15, 20, 25% of ad spend. That math eventually works out where you can bring on one hell of a media buyer that's going to do a stellar job, and they focus on your business 100% of the time. So the added value that you're going to get out of that will be huge because they're constantly networking with the stations, building those relationships, and kind of taking those to the next level.
Totally makes sense. So let's transition real quick, if you don't mind, Matt, to the call center, right? So we have a lot of customers that, they're at different stages. I just saw that Amanda posted, she has a huge marketing team of one. It's her, and so like we've been there, exactly. But like, if you transition to call center and marketing working together, and then the post that you posted on LinkedIn, which is basically, you came in and said, hey, we are driving a lot of leads, but we got to convert more. So if I'm getting 100 leads a day or whatever it is, I can convert 30 of those or 55 of those or 60 of those. Yep. And so, and you mentioned us, but just to get back to the point here, like, when you think about the call center, how does the call center play a role with the marketing team?
Yeah, they should be working hand in hand. So I think a mistake a lot of companies will make is saying, I need more leads, right? And I'm guilty of that, right? I want to be driving revenue every single day. I'm a big believer in let's get the call board, locked up. Why don't we have more leads? That's clearly the problem. And a lot of times that's not necessarily the problem, right? You have enough leads. What are we doing with those leads? I think that's why you're seeing a lot of rumblings around call by call management, right? It's specifically as we're looking at an economy that's tightening a little bit. When you look at consumer financing and how much of that's defaulting currently these days. I saw a number that it's the highest it's ever been from a default rate on the consumer financing side of things. When you're looking at then what that impact has downstream on financing acceptance rates, that's going to go downstream and create some problems. And we just need to be ready for that. But more importantly, what's ready mean? Ready means making sure we're taking care of every lead that comes through the channels so that we can make sure to give them the best experience possible so that they want to do business with us. What I love about, our economy, it's consumers have choices. Consumers always have choices, right? There are going to be people that are cheaper than us, and there are consumers that want that, and that's completely fine. But there are also consumers that do value more of the experiential side of it. They're wanting that the peace of mind and knowing that someone, if there was something that were to go wrong, that I'm partnered with a company that has the team and the breadth to be able to come in and take care of that quickly, not wait, a couple days, a week, whatever, and just being able to serve them quickly. And, we serve that clientele. And I think when you look at the call center side of it, that's your first touch, man. People discount call centers way too much. Like they are one of the most important areas of the business because they are your first human interaction, right, with the customer. and we've got to figure out how to make that right. And I know we'll get into AI, I think, a little bit later in the conversation, so we can chat about that. But I think we need to be very purposeful as marketers and as business leaders of making sure that we're connecting with people the way in which they want to be connected, and making sure we're making that as solid of an experience as possible. And the impact, you can see it from the slide that we had prior, right? The whole title around how we get to 74%. It didn't start there. Before we got started, it was in the mid 20s to 30%. Then we brought it up to about 90 days to about 50. I think it was 50.3%. And then we brought it up to 73.81%, the last 30 days. And really being able to bring that up and build that's just incredibly important, because that means you're doing a better job serving the people that already want to do business with you. You don't have to go find new ones. Take care of the ones that want to do business with you already.
So, and like you can sort of summarize it though, Matt, because I know there's a lot that went into this. I don't want to underestimate what the 90 days took, but like, what are the 2 or 3 things that you focused on in that 90-day period to get those results?
Yeah, totally. A couple of things. Very first and foremost, Marsha Barnes, who I'm good friends with. She's the CEO of Valve Meter, the marketing agency that we use. But I've known her for years, and she really drove home the speed to lead side of it with me when I worked on her team, and that has carried with me the last couple of places that I've worked, because I joke about it, but I want our team to be so good that we're in the driveway before the next competitor calls them back. Right?
Because I saw that quote. I thought it was funny. Yeah.
Our industry has this problem of, it's a form lead from the website. They want to do business with us. I'm sure they're not calling other contractors. I'll call them back in a couple of days. Well, that's bullshit. Like they are calling people, probably on average about 3 to 5 people actually to come out. So I want to show them that I care more than everyone else. So I'm going to make sure that we're responding as quickly as possible. And that's where comes in the partnership that we have with Hatch. Bringing that in and being able to get an instant response out there, getting an instant email out there, making sure we're dialing them. I'm still old school of like, everything doesn't have to come in through text message or email. Phone calls still are okay to make, right? And really help just layering on those 3 forms of communication and really building that up but that's not always going to work if you're just doing one outreach, right? So I'm a big believer in cadences and making sure you at least have a 7-day cadence of outreach to people and making sure it's very deliberate in the conversation. I know there are, I think Matt Edwards and I kind of went back and forth when we were setting up our account on things. And he's like, man, short and sweet messages. I'm like, man, I appreciate that. I like that, but we're going to make this a little bit more. And so we made it a little beefier. Yes, it may be a longer text, but I want people to know that we want to do business with them. It's not that, oh, hey, yeah, you're lucky to have us as a roofing contractor. No, we are obsessed and lucky to have you as a customer. So how do we take that to the next level of really showing that and having that come across in something that is generally insensitive in the form, or I'd say, not as personal, let's say impersonal, being text message or email. How do we make that really personal, where they feel like, man, they really care. They really do care. They texted me immediately, welcoming me to be part of their family, right? That we've gotten emails. They've been really deliberate about the cadence. We got a phone call. One thing we're working on is still getting our phone calls down. I want our team to be outbounding a new lead within 2 minutes. We're not there yet, but we'll get there. I can guarantee that. But it's just figuring out what all this process really needs to be and being very deliberate about it. The software is not going to solve this problem for you, folks. I can tell you, I'm sure there are plenty of people that are like, oh, if I pay the monthly fee, it's going to solve all of my problems. No, you got to invest in it. You've got to be deliberate about it. You've got to put team members that are specifically designed for this, right? We have an eLeads team that their primary responsibility is working in Hatch and taking care of those leads and loving them and building them up and convincing them that we're the best company for them, right? And getting one of our team members out there to be able to build that value add. So, you got to be deliberate. You got to invest in it. It doesn't just happen automatically by any means.
I love it. So if I heard what you said there, just to sort of summarize it, the right channels, the right technology, the right people. It's a
Yes,
combination of all three. You got to do
absolutely.
all of it.
All day.
Yeah, it's interesting, Matt. Like I think our best customers we see do that really well, and they get an owner. I mean, the ownership part is key. So it doesn't matter how much tech you put on it, you still need an owner to care about it. It's what they wake up and think about. It's what they've got a staff of people that care about it. And so tell me a little bit about the accountability around it. I'm always interested in how companies like, how did you measure this? I know there's lagging indicators of the set rate goes up, but
Yep.
that takes some time. How do you sort of see in the early days that things are getting better with speed to lead?
Yeah, response rate. How quickly are we getting to people? How quickly are we
Okay.
responding to them, communicating with them? That's why I really like the speed to lead indicator on phone calls, right? Being able to know, okay, we made this phone call and it was done in this amount of time after that lead came into the system, and really being able to integrate that. That's incredibly important. I think a lot of people will default to the technology side, right? Because it's easier to send a text and make a phone call, but not understanding what that's going to do to level up that customer experience and that appointment set rate. So, right, could we go from 73 to 93? That's a big move when you look at the number of leads we're dealing with on a daily basis. So yeah, I would say that, and then in the call center specifically, I'm a big fan of let's keep it simple. What's your answer rate? What's your answer rate? I never. I want to see it sub 1% abandon rate at all times. I want to see us at 99% answer rate at all times during our normal business hours. I think that is something that that means we're running a good business, and that means we are serving our clients well when we're making sure that we're answering when they call. That's kind of an important part. And if your abandon rate's high, hire people. The work that you're going to get from those abandoned phone calls are going to more than offset the cost of someone that is going to be answering the phones, and even someone that is paid well to answer the phones. It's an absolute game changer, and it doesn't have to always be your lowest wage position in the company, like a lot of home services companies are set up to be. It can be a position where people have pride coming to work each and every day.
So now that you have that, all those processes in, how do you think about the balance between buying more leads and becoming more efficient with the leads you already have? Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like, in what order is it? Like, get efficient first, get that number up, then pour more gas on the fire, or is it like, how do you think about that?
For sure, you got to make sure you're taking care of the leads. Otherwise, you're going to burn through cash.
Yeah.
Don't do that first. Let's make sure we're taking care of our leads. Let's get it up to a 73, 75%, appointment set rate. And then, as you're layering on more leads, it's going to get better and better, because I think as you start getting further and further away from those leads, right, your referrals are always going to be extremely warm. Then they're going to get a little cooler when you're talking about PPC, maybe a little bit warmer SEO if they're direct. But then it's going to be cooler as you start going to Angie leads. It's going to be cooler as you start going to more of these lead providers that are out there. So you've got to make sure you have your system set up and really well optimized in order to bring any of those in. Otherwise, you're not going to realize the real impact that those can have onto your business. Because here's the thing, Angie and Home Advisor leads, whatever we want to call them today, their leads only need to be a fraction of good as an SEO lead, because it's a fraction of the cost, right? It's a simple cost analysis when you're looking at those. It's looking at it of, okay, I only need the set rate. The set rate can be a third of what an SEO or PPC lead, because it costs me a third of the cost for that lead. So, if your financial model set out from a marketing perspective, you can buy that extra lead. Yeah, you may have to touch 3 of them before you get one to book, as you would from a PPC or an SEO or whatever.
Yeah,
but the math works out.
Yeah,
and then what you're able to do is, this is the exciting part. As you figured that out and you have your system in place and you start looking at these other avenues where you can buy leads, then you can start bringing those on. And that's just new business, new incremental business that you're bringing into the top of the line. And if you've already covered your break even, how much of that money is going straight to your bottom line once you've covered the break even for the business as on the monthly basis, right? So it just becomes a fun game from a finance perspective of, hey, let's put gas on the fire and try to bring in as much revenue as possible, because we've covered break even. More of these dollars are going to incremental dollars are going to go to the bottom line.
Love it. Love it. And then last sort of question I have about the call center piece and how you think about this as a marketing leader, right? Which is, what about the database that you're building of all those customers? You mentioned you have like an email marketer basically,
Yep.
or somebody that's thinking about that, but there's also like the ideal situation would be market to them, set more appointments, right? That's kind of the flow that you're trying to build. So move speed to lead. Now it's like sort of speed to customer, loyalty to customers. How do you get them? I mean, that's where our best revenue comes from, is our current customers. You take care of them and you figure out how to grow with them. They grow, we grow type of deal. So how do you go about that?
I think that's really popular right now in home services, right? As the lead numbers overall have softened over the last 24 months, really, as those lead numbers have softened over time, I think that's becoming more and more important, right? Your re-engagement of current customers. And where I can say is we're not where I want us to be, but we've got a hell of a cool project that we're currently working on of really understanding who our customers are, bringing them into, yes, they're in a CRM, right? Everyone most generally has a CRM in which they're keeping this data, which is great. But is that CRM accessible to the marketing team? And does it give them the data and the actionable data steps that they need to be able to then re-engage and reactivate with those customers? And most generally, I would say some of them have them, but companies don't know how to utilize that, whatever. We've kind of taken a different view of let's take that data while we still operate it with a CRM. Let's bring that data also off into its own database, and let's do some cool things with it. So let's start with actually understanding who our customer is, right? There are very few home service companies that really understand who their customer is. So how do we become one of those? Because once you know who your customer is, then you know how to serve them, right? And you know how to serve them really well and connect with them. And it just brings a lot of clarity. And there's a lot of things that we're trying to do from a data perspective to really bring that together, figure out how we can activate with those customers differently from a campaign perspective, also being able to help let them know what we do and how we're serving the community. I don't think every piece of information that goes out from a company has to be a sales piece. I really don't. I think let's let the consumer decide. I hope all our competitors are just sending out sales pieces. I hope they're just putting on, a video of a roof that they just recently installed on social media or something like that. That's cool. Let them keep doing that. We're going to engage with them. We're going to create a genuine human connection with these folks while others are trying to sell them. Because at the end of the day, this is a long game. And I'm hedging the bet that we're focused on the long-term relationship and understanding what that is, and the impact that will have on the company down the line.
I love it. All right, so we're coming up towards the end. I actually got a bunch of questions in here. Matt, do you mind if I go and ask you? Okay, cool. So Adam asks, do you guys run Zoom meetings for new roof leads? Which is an interesting question. Or are you in person only?
In person only.
In person only.
Interesting. Call us old school, but I want to build that relationship. This isn't a transaction. This is a relationship.
Interesting. And do you, I don't even know how you do a Zoom meeting for a roof console.
There are a lot of people doing that, or even drones or things of that nature. And some people internally have asked about that, but I think there's still some value of, while everyone pivots one way, pivoting another way. And, maybe let's have someone still go up on the roof and take a video while they're up there explaining, what they're seeing versus just a drone shot. And I don't want to discredit that. That's a fine practice for someone with that type of business model. Our business model is just a little different, probably a little bit more high touch, and really making sure that we build that relationship side of it, because our priority is repair, right? I think, Gene, the owner, one thing that really stuck with me, I think I did a LinkedIn post about this probably month 2 in, and I was like, it stuck with me because Gene said, our job is to repair first. Because if we do a good job repairing that roof, when it does come time for them truly needing a new roof, they're going to
they'll use you. Right? Yeah, they'll use you.
It's the long-term play. So we probably do as a % more repair than replace. But again, it's the long game of really creating those relationships, because roof 1's great, but what's even better? Roof 2, roof 3, roof 4, when I don't have to pay for marketing leads for those additional roofs because they trust us.
Yep. Love that. You mentioned accountability. You mentioned tracking your calls. How do you do that? That's another question we got here.
Help me on the tracking the calls. So we have a couple. I hope I answer this. I think Nicholas asked this. So we do use Zoom Contact Center is our call center software currently today. We do use i360 from the database, from the CRM perspective. Then I have, again, kind of a homegrown database we're working on outside of that. What I would say from a tracking perspective, each one of those have different tracking. The goal is bringing it into this marketing database so we have full funnel view of it from start to finish. So I would say it's a work in progress. We also have CallRail. CallRail is our call tracking software. From that perspective, bringing the UTMs over correctly so we can make it, campaign attribution to revenue. Obviously, that's pretty important. So hopefully that answers.
I think Matt, one of the questions I know that's on my mind is reply time, right? So you mentioned reply times. How do you track reply times in particular? Is that Zoom? Zoom gives you that data?
So reply time, I mean, you guys have that built in right into Hatch on the reply time by agent. And that one is obviously, that's when we're talking kind of the speed to lead side of it. That's what I was do. Obviously we have the side of it, but when we talk about text and email, we just got to constantly be making it better and stop comparing your performance versus another company or competitor's performance. They don't matter. They matter. They're good human beings, I'm sure, but they don't matter inside of your business. What matters is making 1% incremental improvements every day, right? And I just want to see improvements in the numbers because we should just be competing with ourselves feverishly, right? We should just be obsessed with how do I improve my number? And there are tools within Hatch to be able to do that from the response rate perspective.
I love that. And we're adding more with voice going into next year. And we're going to put tracking in there. But yeah, I know for Hatch, it's the number one health metric that we look at as account managers in my company, which is if you're a Hatch customer and your reply times are above 5 minutes, I'm worried about how well you're going to do with our product. Really. I mean, because what's happening is we're getting you responses and no one's talking to the customer. And that's a problem.
Real weird. It's really weird if you automate the initial response and then you don't respond after. Now they know it was a bot.
Yeah, it happens. It happens for sure. Yeah. And so Giselle asks, how do you increase the amount of phone calls that you're making? Is that just an initiative that you put together, or do you actually say, hey, if you're a caller at my company, we expect you to make X amount of outbounds, or how do you do that?
Yeah, so I would say a lot of our company is still very much on the inbound side of it, taking care of the inbound. So we have the call center here in Indianapolis. Each of our locations has some sort of call center, whether it's an individual or a couple individuals, but everything can then roll over to our Indianapolis location if we're not picking up the phone quickly or desk, whatever. So we're really still focused on really dialing that inbound because I think you've got to be really good at that before you become really good at the outbound side of it, because they take very focused efforts to really dive into. I know there are specifically, and I was kind of surprised in the roofing space, the number of companies that do outbounding for you, which I think that is great to test. But I do think there's also something to be said of having your own team being able to do that in downtime, so you're maximizing your efficiencies internally. But to be quite honest, here at BoneDry, we're just not there yet. We really focused on making sure we got that inbound experience dialed in.
Love it. How do you make people? This is from Shelly. How do you make people not reply, end, or stop? Yeah, that's a tough. That one comes up. And by the way, it's so funny, Matt. 3 years ago, this didn't even exist, really, right? That wasn't even a thing, and now basically the carriers are forcing you guys to put, in all of my companies, to put, hey, reply, end. And some people just think that's how you just stop that particular conversation, and yet it's an opt-out. So anyway, how do you think about just disclaimers like this and how you're attacking that?
Don't spam them, and don't make your communication seem spammy. That's why I said, when we go back to that conversation that Matt and I had initially when we were setting up the accounts, right? While it's easy for me to send a very quick and easy, hey, how's the job going? Or, hey, how does our quote look? Or something like that. And that may elicit a level of response. I wanted to make it a little bit more personable. And so that we can do just that, really, really drive out as many of those ends or stop replies to be able to make sure that we're maximizing as many of these interactions as possible. I think, again, people can really sniff out when it's a bot. I wanted to make it as human as possible, so they had a better feeling about it internally. So I always try to think about it. How would I text my mom or my grandma? Right? I always run it kind of through that voice, and then I can guarantee you the smartest marketer in our house is my wife, because I run a lot of things, even campaign messaging, stuff like that, by her. Of like, how would you react if you heard something like this, or if you saw this come across on Facebook? Because at the end of the day, is in the home services space, typically, your target market is the female clientele, 35, 55. It's just that's what it's always been. I would encourage you to really figure it out what it is for your business, but as kind of a generality, that is typically what's always been shared.
Yeah, and I will say too, Shelly, we're working on a campaign analyzer tool using data from the 25 million conversations we have a month, so that when you're doing campaigns, it'll actually highlight whether or not you could potentially have a high stop rate or opt-out rate. So I think combination of that data with that personalization is going to help. That's a great response. Chance asks about what is your no-show or cancellation rate since you do all in-person appointments? Is that an issue for you guys?
Yes. So I would say on the appointment cap, so that would be the cancellation rate. It's going to vary. I mean, some months I'm just looking at it on the quarterly report that I have. It can be anywhere. It can jump into the 7%, but oftentimes, you hope that it stays
like 5.
That, I would hope that 2-3%. I'd really like to get it there. But a lot of that's because generally once someone schedules an appointment, we tend to forget about them, right? We've developed out a team here internally that really, they just help guide the customer through the entire process. So we hope that by having that in place can help limit the number of cancellations and being able to help move them along through the journey again, so they just have another person to talk to and ask questions to if they have them, because we realize it's a team effort. It's a team effort to really do well.
That's great. And I will say that we have, of all of our customers, I looked at this yesterday, it's about 60% of them, 61 or something, that do a no-show cancellation targeted sequence to say, hey, like you canceled on us, but we'd love to get you back on the books. And that tends to help them go. If it's at 5, I'm with you, man. If it's at 5%, how about we look to get it to 4 in a month, or 3 in a month, and then eventually get it to 2. If it's at 10 or 7, how do you get it incrementally better? And I think you do stuff like that. That's a great,
me sharing this data, like, don't view it as that's where your company should be, right? Back to the just making incremental improvements, as you were alluding to there, Chris, is like just focus on your business, be hyper focused on your business and making that department incrementally better.
Yep, love it. What's the name of the marketing company you use? Brian asked this. He's probably local to Indianapolis, so he could be curious about
it. We use Valve and Meter Performance Marketing. Marsha Barnes is the CEO over there. They're good team.
Okay. Very cool. CRM. What CRM are you using?
i360.
i360. You've worked with a bunch of CRMs over the years, though, haven't you?
I have worked with
Titan. Yeah.
Over the years, yes. So a bunch of them on the HVAC space. One of the more notable ones, Service Titan. Then come over here to i360. So, yeah, a lot of experience with different CRMs.
Love it. Team. You got 10 team members. Big team, by the way. Developing team culture. Why don't you give us a quick snippet, just because we're running up on time, on developing team culture? Great question.
Wish I had more time to really focus on this, but you focus on hiring the right people, and I think the culture figures it out, right? If you hire right people, they're going to figure out the culture and really make it their own and own it. And that's why I'm really proud about the team that we have created here, because I think it's something that's going to be special in the roofing space and a cool story to tell down the line, because we've got just some really good people. Put the skill set, put their skill sets and their talents aside. They're even better people, and I think that's incredibly important as you're building out that team. And culture isn't something you push on them. The culture isn't something that you tell people what the culture is. That's something they have to feel and create themselves.
Yeah,
and it's a huge buzzword that I think is overemphasized and overcomplicated within the world these days, when it's just really just be kind and hire good people.
Yeah, that's a great point. I could probably do 6 webinars on hiring and what I've learned over the years, but I am with you 100%. If we're all sort of wanting to win and own something, those teams tend to work out for some reason really well. I love that. So is Hatch automated initial response or full conversation? Both, Dan, both. And the reason it's both is that certain use cases are good for the whole conversation. Other times it's good just to automate the initial response. We give you the option to do both. That's a great question. Um, Adam says, are you canvassing at all?
Very
We
little.
can't, very little canvassing for leads.
Clover leafing, right? If we're at an appointment, let's make sure to get a hold of the people that are around the home. Just first to tell them, hey, if we need to move our truck, let us know because we're probably parked in front of one of your houses. But B, if we are doing the day of install when we're doing the work, we want people to know that we're going to be doing the work, but also if there's any problem, if a piece of trash blew in their yard, anything of that nature, we want them to know they can call us and we'll come and take care of it for them. So we don't do a lot of canvassing. It's just not something that's core to our DNA here.
Got it. And I know we're coming up on time, so I'm going to do one more question and then we'll follow up on some of these. And then Matt, if you don't mind, maybe send me some responses. I can get them to these people because I think they're good questions. All right, great. I like this one. This one's interesting because I've seen people try all different types of ways, but Amber asks this one. And I have an answer too, but Matt, I want to hear yours first. What about outsourcing a call center? Has that ever worked, or would you say having it in office is the best solution?
In office is the best solution.
Why?
The people that will be answering the phone are more personally connected to the company and understanding what the value proposition of the company is and how we want to serve the customers best.
Interesting.
Outsourcing, I believe, and it can go a variety of ways. And I know there are different views on this, and I'm completely cool with that. Just expressing my personal opinion is that really, that call is important. It's not just booking the call. That's your first interaction, and people that work for your company are going to care about your company. Well, first about themselves, then the company, right? We're humans. I get it.
Yep.
But if you're then outsourcing it, you may be the third, fourth, and fifth company that they care about. And so you really need to, I think on that and figure out how you want to do that. I think there are some things that you can do to supplement if you're getting to capacity and you can't find someone. Maybe you can integrate some AI to be able to help answer and then get that to the right people within the teams, IVRs, whatever.
Yep.
I think there are things to be able to do that, but I am a big believer of let's try to keep it in-house if possible.
Yeah, I'm an in-house guy. I've seen it done so many different ways over the years.
Yep.
I think it's a core competency. I think, you could, because basically as you grow, you move from a services business to a sales and marketing company of a service. And so what you're generally doing in the call center is you're selling something, either the appointment or the confirmation, something, right? And so it becomes a core competency and no one knows your business like you do. And
I think we're what frustrates me and when companies are trying to figure out ways to serve the customer less, right? Love AI has its purpose 100%. I love it, but you need to figure out how it's going to integrate it within your company and don't lose focus on how you're best going to serve your customer because efficiencies are great. Being able to automate things are great, but what is best for the customer, I think, should be your question every single time. And you make the decision based on that answer.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I find that it's a mix of those things. It's people, technology, and processes. So that's great.
Route it to the right person.
Yep. Love it. So I think that's about, we're up on time. I've got like 4 or 5 questions I'm going to send to you, Matt, and a few for me. We can follow up on. We've got a little poll running. The poll is just about if you're a Hatch customer and like to know more, you can fill it out. If you're not currently using Hatch, would like to know more, you can fill it out. We'd love to talk to everybody about everything that we're doing, where AI fits, where automation fits. And we're taking all these stories and we're trying to help other businesses that look like this continue to grow. It's our mission. And it's when we're on. Matt, I appreciate your time today, man. I think this was a really, really great webinar. You have any final thoughts or closing statements before we wrap this thing up?
No, I probably shared a lot. So if anyone does want to connect, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. It's just Matthew Tyner. I'll be more than happy to have a conversation with you. And if you have any questions, I try to be as transparent as possible. because I think, as we grow the industry, the industry just continues to get better. So let's keep doing that. So if you do need to reach out to me, LinkedIn's probably best.
Yeah, I was going to say you are one of the most active in the service space on LinkedIn, and I love it. So we'll be following you, man. Keep on posting and teach us some stuff, and we'll learn from you. Yep. Appreciate your time today. All right. See you, man.
Bye.
All right. Bye.